it is a criminal breach under our federal statutes to hack into my private email account. We did hear from law enforcement authorities that they confirmed that it was part of the ongoing investigation of Russian hacking into democratic organizations.
Foreign powers, enemies, and those with nothing more than political mischief in mind have long been the scourge of campaigns. They lurk in the shadows, picking their spots to drop a dangerous dime on someone at just the right moment, if they can. And there is certainly one superpower that has been at the forefront of those seeking to change the direction of campaigns in order to support their ill-gotten ideas. But we have witnessed nothing like the current cyber world and the manner in which those seeking to alter an election appear to have such easy access. Which brings us to Vladimir Putin, Adrian Assange, and charges that what we are seeing and hearing may not have a whole lot of truth at the core. Your phone calls are encouraged, required. 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. Welcome in columnist with Breitbart and The American Thinker, contributor to the Talk Radio Network and author of WTF, How Karl Rove and the Establishment Lost Again, C. Edmund Wright. Joined by the conservative blogger from the website The Gateway Pundit, Jim Hoft. Gentlemen, want to thank you both for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started here. Russian hackers, according to certain and a lot of news reports, getting involved in the U.S. presidential election, infiltrating servers, breaking things through WikiLeaks, and of course the Russians say absolutely not, ridiculous, we have not done anything here. Edmund, let me come to you first on this. Come on. I mean, we all can look at this. This has got to be one of the easiest things that we've picked in a long time. Is there any doubt whatsoever that the Russians are trying to do whatever they can to disrupt the American election?
Probably not. You know, to be perfectly frank, though, I'm not comfortable with either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton's relationship with Russia. I think Trump is far too cozy, or at least emotionally seems to be tied to Vladimir Putin without realizing what a disaster Putin is for the average Russian. They're both kind of strongmen in a way. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton has her problems there, too. I will say from a purely political standpoint, I think these WikiLeaks releases have blunted what would be probably more downward momentum for Trump at this point.
All right, now let's talk about that, Jim, because when we talk about the Russians and Trump, there is a thinking process here that Donald Trump, let's just focus on him first, that he's just a little bit too cozy with Vladimir Putin. And let's face it, Putin is in charge right now of a military that is slaughtering people and illegally taking over a country right next to his. Shouldn't we still be concerned about that? And not only that, if you're a Republican who wants Donald Trump to beat the snot out of Hillary Clinton, shouldn't you go to him and say, Mr. Trump, please, end this right now. Get out from underneath it. Tell us that you don't give a damn about the Russians and prove to us that you're going to be just as tough on them as anybody else could be.
Well, I think Donald Trump answered that correctly at the last debate where he said he has no ties with the Russian regime. He tried business there. It fell apart. He has no golf courses, hotels in Russia. And if you look at Hillary Clinton, she's the one who made the deals with the Canadians and the Russians to give 20% of our uranium to the Russian regime. So it's really a deflection by the Hillary campaign. And what we're finding is this is the new reality in the world today. We're going to have hackers disrupt every election. We've seen this before with WikiLeaks. They've interfered with other countries in their elections and their politicians. So this is a new reality. But what's interesting is the Democrats are not saying that any of these leaks are incorrect. So what WikiLeaks is doing is it's shining light on the Democratic apparatus along with the media to take down Republicans and Donald Trump.
Let me deal with that then, because as a journalist, and I've been this way, as I said earlier, my entire adult life, and I'll go this to you first, Jim. Does this not then behoove the legitimate press, not just the media, but the legitimate press, to get involved, investigate this, and find out if indeed, whether it hurts Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or whomever, that we are being given factual information? How are we supposed to know what we're being handed by the Russians has 1 ounce of truth?
They're not arguing that any of these documents are false. We've seen very devastating things about the Democrat Party now. We've seen a list of mainstream media reporters who have been meeting with the Democrat Party leaders and Hillary campaign. This is just devastating. And it shines light on this apparatus of Democrats. As Andrew Breitbart used to say, the Democrat media complex. It's all in full display this year, thanks to WikiLeaks.
Edmund, we carried this on the Newsmax.com website yesterday. This was a WikiLeaks story. The Clinton campaign sought to promote Carson, Trump, and Cruz, hoping to force the presidential hopefuls on the right to lock themselves into extreme conservative positions. Two-part question for you here, I guess. Is this just standard politics, or is this something that we need to be digging in a lot harder on and saying this is news and this is the things that voters need to hear about?
You know, look, I think that every front runner, and Hillary, even when she might have been in some trouble against Bernie Sanders, wouldn't have admitted it. So she clearly thought she was a front runner. I think whenever you're a front runner, you look at the schedule like a football team does, looking down the road and put up W's and L's on who you think you can beat and who might be trouble for you. So I actually think that's almost a non-story. Yeah, I fully believe that John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and others had that conversation, but I suspect every front runner has that conversation about the other party's nominating process.
All right, let's talk about something else here. The Clinton campaign, and we now have one of their spokeswomen, Jennifer Palmieri, is the Clinton's campaign director of communications, says that politically conservative Catholics think Roman Catholicism is the most socially acceptable, politically conservative religion. Their rich friends wouldn't understand if they became evangelicals. Edmund, is this a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal. My gut reaction says that sounds about right. You know, I think, frankly, with all of these WikiLeaks, drops of information, I think most of it just sort of confirms what we instinctively thought was going through their minds and in the Democrat side anyway.
Jim, unfortunately, Jim Hoft, we have to let you go because we are having audio technical difficulties at this point and we simply cannot hear what you're saying. Jim, we apologize profusely, but unfortunately it is a technical issue on this side. Jim Hoft from the Gateway Pundit, we appreciate your time. Let's continue with Edmund Wright, if you will. Edmund, with all of these stories that we are hearing here, and all the things that the Hillary Clinton campaign has to deal with, they bring and they trot out Al Gore onto stage yesterday, believing that Al Gore is the answer to get to millennials. And I have to tell you, here's an article from the Chicago Tribune from one of their reporters. Really? Al Gore? Get a clue, Hillary. That scream you hear is from millennials, and please stop laughing. What are they bringing out Al Gore for? This just seems like it's a ridiculous thing to do.
Well, maybe they're looking for someone who, up next to Hillary, can make Hillary look less pedantic and less robotic. Clearly, this was a very tone-deaf move, I think, on the part of the Clinton campaign. I've talked about the Republican establishment being tone-deaf really since 1992. Normally, the Democrats are not quite that way, but yeah, I think I read that same Chicago article. It's pretty funny. I think that's just a total miss. It won't make any difference, but it's a total miss by the Clinton campaign.
I think it won't make any difference at number two. I can't think of any millennial who could look at Al Gore and say, oh, yeah, I recognize that guy. Isn't he like doing Saturday Night Live this week? 1-877 Newsmax. We just talked about Clinton and Russia. Here's Gerald in Cincinnati. Gerald, thanks for joining us. You wanted to talk about that connection between Hillary and Russia that maybe doesn't get as much notice as it needs.
Well, I didn't really want to talk about it. I don't know that much about it, except hearing about it. I'm just wondering why it isn't made a bigger issue. And another thing is when Hillary, when she was, in the White House with Bill, I can't think of what you call her, First Lady, claimed to take sniper fire when she landed in Bosnia. And that, if she claimed that as president, she could start a war.
Well, here we go. That's all part of the conversation here. Gerald, thanks a lot for the call. I got about 60 seconds left here, Edmund. Isn't it fair to say that Hillary Clinton and Russia, Hillary Clinton and what she's done, these are the things that Donald Trump needs to be saying loudly and right on target. Stop hitting away at the Republicans. Nail away at Hillary Clinton. People will hear that, and that will change things.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing now is almost a furor from the bunker-style scorched earth from Team Trump, and I think it's very distressing. Hitler ordered the destruction of all German infrastructure down the stretch, knowing he was going to lose the war and die. It's almost like Trump's doing the same thing on the Republican Party, which is interesting. I don't think the election's out of reach for Trump. I think he's in trouble. But if he's going to eventually sit in the Oval Office, he's going to really need Republicans like Paul Ryan to win their elections, whether he likes them personally or not. So you're right. Trump should fire the enemy instead of his own team.
It's politically correct sometimes to like your enemy, especially inside the Beltway. C. Edmund Wright, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your time. We're going to take a break and come back with words of whimsical wisdom, fighting words from the Donald. And if you want to go ahead and get in, last shot in this hour of America Talks Live, do it at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-NEWSMAX.